Hi guys, you're highly welcome back to Eminence Teaches channel. My name is Bukola. Thank you for choosing Eminence, and also I appreciate all our subscribers, and I appreciate everyone view this channel for the first time. If you are watching this channel for the first time, please like and share, and don't forget to subscribe to become part of the family. So today's tutorial, I'll be using this button in my hand to spice up our A-shaped dress. So after done making it, and I'll be using this 2.5 yards of fabric to make our A-shaped dress. So the next thing now is to open it and rearrange it. Here my fabric is folded into 4, and I've marked 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Then draw my guideline at the edge of my fabric. Then I put my tape measure to measure the length of my dress. So I left 6 inches upward because the length of our fabric is not enough. So I marked my 8 inches for my armhole, then my waistline and my hip line. So after done with that, I place back my tape measure on my chest line. Then I mark my 1/4 of my bust circumference measurement. So on my waistline, I mark 1/4 of my waist circumference that way. Then also on my hip line, I measure 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement. Then I place back my tape measure. Then I connected those points together. Then I place back my tape measure now. Then what I got there, I now measure it at the down part of my flay. Then added 3 inches to it. Then I now place back my tape measure on my hip line. Then make a straight slant line towards the hemming part of my dress. Then I added 1 inch for my sewing allowance. As you can see me marking it down. Then I also mark it to the hemming part of my dress. I also mark it down to the hemming part of my dress. So after done with that now, the next thing is to cut out the down part of our dress, as you can see. So now when I'm done cutting this out, I will just add the upper side with it later in the day. You will see how we are going to do about it. So guys, as you can see, I have done cutting this one. The next thing now, I will just put this aside and go ahead and cut the sleeve before we cut the remaining part of the bodice. I'll go ahead and cut my sleeve so there won't be problem at all. I am doing all this because the fabric is not enough for the style she chose, but we try to manage it out. So the 6 inches I minus there, I want us to know before we put it aside, I will be cutting back 7 inches because I will be adding sewing allowance to that. Don't forget that. Let's put it aside and cut our sleeve now. So to make our sleeve now, to cut our sleeve, just rearrange your fabric, measure the length of your sleeve, then mark your round armhole, then connect it to the down part and add your sewing allowance and cut it out this way. Though I have a full details video on how to make basic sleeve on this channel, so for those of us that really want to know how to make this, I will drop the link below. So after done with this now, I will put it aside and cut the parts remain that we left out to complete our full body. So I'll be placing my tape measure, then mark across 7 inches. Don't forget we left 6 inches above, then plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So the next thing now, then I'll be cutting it out. Then refold my fabric to cut the front pieces. To cut the front, you have to take the body, the front body that you have cut below, that is the down part of our dress, take it and measure the upper side of the dress. So you will know the actual length you are going to cut out. So there I have 11.5 inches. So that 11.5 inches, I will refold my fabric now. Make sure that what I fold is up to that, then is accurate. Then I'll mark my 7 inches and cut it out. So I'm done cutting the part that we left out earlier. So now our body is complete. So before doing anything, I have to go and stitch this with our bodies, then come back to cut it out. So the next thing now to do is to cut my strap from the pieces. This is the part that we are going to pleat at the front of our dress. So the first one I cut with edges, I cut it with 3 inches. Then the second one I cut it with 4 inches. So by the time I stitch it, the down part will be 3 inches, then the upper part will be 2 inches. So guys, I am done cutting it. I will go ahead and stitch those straps together. So for the main body and the pieces I cut to complete it, I will go ahead and stitch it, and then we go on the table and continue our tutorial. Okay guys, we are now on the table. So the next thing now is to input to our shoulder measurements. So before doing that, I'm going to show us the back bodies that have sewn complete. You have seen it, then also the front as well. So the next thing now, you put them together this way, then you rearrange them in order to enable us to put our shoulder to shoulder measurements. So before doing that, I have left 1 inch at the front, at the center of the back bodies. So that is for my zipper allowance. So now I will be marking half of my shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is our back. Then from that point, I will now mark down 9 inches for our armhole. So after done with that, I'll be marking 1 inch out of that 9 inches for my shoulder slants. So I'll place back my tape measure this way and mark 1 inch. Just mark 1 inch that way. Then I will slant my hand towards the neck line this way. So after done with that, then I will input my neck width. I'll be using 3 inches for my neck width. Then for my neck depth, I'll be using 3 inches as well. So I will be connecting that together. That is for my front neck. So for the back neck, I'll be using 3 inches for the width. Then I'll be using 1 inch for the neck depth. Then you connect it together. The next thing after done with this is to mark my armhole. So to enable me to mark my armhole, I'll first mark 1/4 of my bust circumference measurements. So you see the way I place my tape measure on my chest line. So the next thing now, you mark 1/4 of my bust circumference, then mark my sewing allowance, 1 inch sewing allowance. Then after done with that, you connect that point to your shoulder line the way I am doing it. You see the way I am doing it. So after done connecting it, I'll be taking half of 1 inch from that my shoulder slant for the shoulder sewing allowance to join it with the back shoulders. So after done with that guys, the next thing now is to go ahead and cut out. So I'm done cutting now. I'll be separating the back bodies from the front bodies. So for the body now, you have to reshape the neck because the depth is 3 inches. So after done with that now, the next thing now is to create the part that we are going to make our pleats. You know, we have pleats in front of this dress. So now I am marking down 5 inches from my neck depth. That way, then I will fold back the body to create a crease line to enable me to indicate the middle of my neck that way. So after done with that now, the next thing now, you place back your tape measure on that 5 inches, mark another 0.75. So after done marking it, divide your shoulder into two and mark the mid. So after done mark the mid, the second line must end at the mid point that you mark. So after done with that, now I place my tape measure, I check it. What I have, the distance between my neck and the first line is 1.5 inches. So I will mark the same thing on the other side of my neck, then connect it together. Then also for the 0.5 line must end at the mid of my shoulder. So after done with that, now guys, the next thing now is to go ahead and pleat. So the biggest part of the stripe that I cut is this one. I have joined it together. You place it on the second. So after done with that, then you place the small one, the right side of that small one we face the right side of the body. Then you start pleat all around. When you don't pleat it all around from one edge to the other edge, then you flip it back over the first pleat, then you top stitch it round. After done with that, guys, the next thing I'll get on machine and bring it back for us to see. Now I am done with that, as you can see. So very beautiful and come out nicely. So the next thing I will be doing now, I will cut the remaining parts from the shoulder, then also create this belt at the middle of my dress. So from the neck depth, I mark 13 inches. From my shoulder, I got 16 inches. The 2 points met at the same point. So now the 16 inches is a half length. Then I trim out the shoulder. So for the strap, I have cut this out for the front belt. I have 18 inches here. What I'm going to be doing now, I will trim out the side to make it straight. Then I will reduce the length. So before doing that, let us cut 4 inches tapeter to line it. So also when I'm done, I will place it like this, then stitch it down. After done, I put hemming gum inside. That is the reason you see it stand this way. I put hemming gum inside this cut belt. So after done with that, now the down part is closed. So I'll be placing the down part on my dress this way. Then also the opening side will be at the front. Then I secure it with hafiz pin. So after done with that, I will open a stitch from that upper side till the down, then come back to the point I started from. That way you just stop stitch it round, then you cut. After done with that, now this is the outcome. Then I trim out the part that left above. So after done with that, the next thing now is to go ahead. So to cut our collar, you just place your tape measure. You start from the back side of your fabric, then you start measuring around your neck circumference. So after done measuring my neck circumference, what I got is 21.5 inches. So now I will take a pieces of fabric of my lace, then cut out the length that I got. So what I have here now is in 2 pieces, but it's enough for my fabric, so I remeasure it. That is what I need. So the next thing to do now, I'll be folding another tapeter to line it. Just place it this way so my lace will not be shooking my clients. So I'll be using that tapeter. Then also I'll be putting stay inside it for the nice outcome, because it is a collar. So I went ahead, I joined my lining, then also joined my lace together because I cut it in pieces. So here is it. So presently, guys, there's no light. That is the reason I didn't iron it, but I stitch my stay with it. So the next thing to do now, I align the 2 notches on the collar and my bodies together. Then I match it round. You see the way I'm placing it. I want to see whether it's accurate. Now I discover it's accurate with it. So the next thing now, I will just go ahead and stitch it round. When I don't stitch it round, I'll bring it back. As you can see, I am done stitching neat round. Then the next thing now, this upper side, you use it to conceal all your seam inside this way, so that place it won't rough. Just conceal it round, go ahead and conceal it that way. So I will go ahead now and do that. So guys, I am done with that. Then also fix my zip. So our dress is ready. Let's see how it looks on Miss Carrie's. See the pleats, look at the back, very beautiful. Hope I will see you in our next class. Thank you.